Today we're going to be talking about a rhetorical analysis over the TED Talk, How to Speak So That People Want to Listen, by Julian Treasure. The specific purpose of this TED Talk is to inform viewers of how to speak in a way that encourages others to listen. And his use of appeals, he provides specific examples and assesses their effectiveness to provide suggestions if necessary. Logos. Treasure begins by listing off the 7 deadly sins of speaking, as he calls them, and follows a few of them with stories and examples for the audience. Then he discusses the denotation of hail, meaning to greet or acclaim enthusiastically. He uses this word as an acronym for the things that people should do while speaking, following the 7 things that people should avoid while speaking. While explaining some of the more complex terms in his TED Talks, Treasure also gives relatable examples. For example, when talking about register or tone in the voice, he says that we should tend to associate lower voices that come from the chest with power, which is why we tend to vote for more political and politicians who have lower voices. He also demonstrates a variety of registers using his own voice. Pathos. Shortly into his TED Talk, Treasure uses several instances of humor. The humor is wittier than anything, and this allows for his audience to really connect with him and relax a little bit within the presentation. It does make the presentation seem a bit more informal than had he just been serious the entire time. To help with this as well, Treasure also uses inclusive language such as we and us. This, along with the example he uses that most people can relate to, really grasp the attention of his audience members and forces them to relate to what he's saying. Credibility or ethos. Treasure begins the speech by very plainly, matter-of-factly laying it out for the audience and jumping straight into the information. He does not take the time to tell his audience how exactly he is qualified or knowledgeable of this topic. He does, however, get into a bit later when he's discussing a variety of voice-related terms that most may not have heard of. He uses his own voice, relatable examples, and definitions to prove that he is very knowledgeable of the topic, of the sound, and using one's voice. Lastly, he includes the audience, asking them to get up out of their seat to participate with him in the vocal exercises he does before publicly speaking. This contributes to his credibility because it demonstrates that he actually does those things and is willing to share his knowledge. Organization. Treasure begins his speech by discussing the 7 deadly sins of speaking, but then transition into some of the things one could do while speaking rather than just what one must avoid. These spelled out the acronym HAIL. Then he went over a few different components of speaking, giving definitions and examples for each. He then transitioned into some of the things he does personally before speaking publicly, and left his audience with a final thought on speaking and listening consciously in environments that were conducive to open conversation. There was a clear thesis, and there were a lot of great points, but I felt that it was a bit rushed and jumpy from one topic to another. Delivery. Treasure, who was delivering a speech essentially on getting others to listen to him, did a great job on getting his audience to listen to him. He had no nervous habits. He even discussed the importance of excluding ums and ahs, unlike myself. He didn't sway or bounce. He barely moved around the stage, and all except when demonstrating to his audience. Treasure was around the stage, was very inclusive with his speech. He was also engaging, particularly when he was including the audience in vocal exercises. The overall effectiveness, Treasure did a great job getting his points across and engaging his audience. The presentation and delivery were excellent, and though speech did seem a bit cut short, and the time he did presentation, he did a wonderful job.